I'm excited to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
I thank you, and sorry I buffed that intro. But what we're gonna do now, guys, is we're gonna watch the intro video to Indy's course, her Starseed course, if it'll play, and yeah, just enjoy this, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Are you guys ready for a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic transformational event? Talk about completely going galactic. This is an in-depth 4-day galactic course container, 20-hour live webinar event with world-class emissaries from the stars going on March 31st, April 1st, April 2nd, April 3rd, 2023. So are you guys ready? Are you ready to get into mission? Because for Starseeds, this life is ultimately all about getting on mission. This is the apex of the Starseed's ascent, the moment when actions, dedication, and consistency merge with your cosmic mind and the awareness of the radial celestial sources within and which support that. So we have built a galactic course that fully focuses on mission. So are you ready to take that leap of faith and build this new earth with us? And are you looking for the next galactic mind expansion, activation, and attunement? Because the benefits of this course are immense. We are going to be embracing your Starseed soul from brand new perspectives. We are going to be guiding and activating you to your mission on this earth, courageously breaking through the challenges and limitations of the matrix, activating your 12 to 22 dimensional chakra system, learning light language and your mother tongue from the stars, remembering the advanced galactic history, and restoring your cosmic Akashic records, becoming intimately connected with your higher self, and purifying those old and stagnant patterns that limit your DNA's expression, transcending human limitations here. And guys, this is a call to action because this course has 10 live calls. On the first day, you're going to explore with IndigoAngel, who is a Hydra Starseed ambassador, and she's going to go over beyond the firmament, Starseed and celestial ascension, entering the cosmic hall of records in greater galactic history, remembering who you are, and she's going to be doing a guardian galactivation journey. On the second day, attune your field with Pink Bella Aloha, an emissary from the stars, as she goes over 12 dimensional chakras and your quantum energy field, advanced Akashic records and multi-dimensional light systems, Starseed and blue rays and advanced chakra balancings and blue ray quantum activations. And on that third day, you're going to activate with Lightstar, a cosmic channel and a visionary, as she goes over awakening the star-born blueprint, advancing through light language codes of consciousness and multi-dimensional Christic DNA seed activation, as this is all about bringing your avatar online. On that fourth day, we're going to do Q&A and group interactive live call with IndigoAngel, Pink Bella, Aloha, and Lightstar. So join this course, you guys. Remember who you are, awaken to your Starseed cosmic identity, advance your DNA and multidimensionality and quantum cognition codes. Starseeds play the most imperative role on this earth that ushers in the new earth timelines. Okay guys, the stars and the mission are calling you. You do not want to miss this opportunity to go galactic, because once you go galactic, you never go back. So join us at learn.indigoangel222.com, and we will see you guys there.
Sorry.
Okay.
I was going to say that we're doing a 3-part interview series on my channel about the course. I already interviewed Pink Bella Aloha. I'm interviewing you today, and then right after this, I'll interview Lightstar. I'll post that tomorrow. So tell us more about the course. Like, what made you want to put this together?
Yeah, I'm so excited to be doing this course with Pink Bella Aloha and Lightstar. Essentially, I actually selected them personally because I knew that they were very strong and empowered divine feminines that were truly anchoring raw galactic code and authentic galactic code. So they are basically portal or gateway receivers to that energy. And so I knew that I needed to put a Starseed course together. I knew that this was the next phase of evolution in terms of what I guess I personally am building, because what I talk about a lot on my channel is grid work. And I talk about the spiritual practice of grid work, and I teach about it a lot. And I also offer grid work sessions for people to get involved in. So if they want to actually do remote sessions, if they want to do boots on the ground location work in terms of those sessions, or if they want to do just develop it on a personal level, whatever it is. But I offered and did the grid worker facilitator course recently. But why I wanted to go to a Starseed course is because it's kind of like there's many processes in the development of ascension. And so celestial awakening or celestial consciousness, which is what Starseed consciousness is it's one of those phases in the development of your grid worker abilities. And so it's really important to kind of go back to this step in this process and connect and attune to the cosmic and the radial signatures of energy that really are at the base or the core structures of what is building the new earth templating inside the earth. So that's what grid worker mission is about. That's what Starseed mission is about. It's about coming into the alignment and the awareness of building the new earth templating here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know people who are like, I had Karen McDonald on my show. She was telling me how she's going, this is kind of like grid work. She's going to places and actually, do recoding the water. Like she's doing something with the water, then actually going to the source and recoding it. Is that almost kind of like grid work as well?
Yes. Well, we all are telepathically, psychically, and energetically attuned to the land in one way or another. We are organic. Those of us who still hold the original organic templating inside of us, right? Like we are connected to the earth body. And so I've been getting a lot of messages recently that what the future evolution is that we are going galactic. We are going Starseed. We are going new earth with these abilities, which activate lots of psychic abilities that are beyond the seven senses, which are beyond just the original 7th dimensional chakra system. This is going 12th dimensional chakra system, 13 to 22 dimensional consciousness, awareness of that chakra system activated. And so, yeah, we're becoming superhuman. We're becoming super conscious, super aware.
And I would say like you, me, and everybody watching this show is definitely of Starseed consciousness. I think if somebody clicked on this video, they would definitely be of Starseed consciousness. Like, so if people are questioning if they are, I don't think it's a question. I think if you're watching this video, you are, because you have it in you. What would you think about that?
I think if you're called to the occult, the esoteric, if you're called to deeper knowledge, if your DNA is activated, if you're going multidimensional, if you are hyper aware, if you're a sensitive or an empath, you are definitely carrying the signature of a starseed, which is just a more developed aspect of the empath or the indigo. This is hyper attunement. It really ultimately means that you're going galactic. Galactic means going quantum cognition. So each phase of that development of ascension is taking you deeper into the subtlety bodies of awareness, which is where you go into the genetics, you go into the proteins, you go into the 64 codons of the DNA, you go into the spectrum of your universal tree of life and the holographic reality. And you become claircognizant, clairvoyant, clairaudient to that knowledge or to the awareness of that existing energy field. And so there's a lot of words to define what this is. There's a lot of hats that we put on in terms of what we call ourselves or label ourselves in this, but it's really about going quantum in our energy spectrum field perception, which is the depth of cosmic knowledge ultimately. Yeah,
I think that's fascinating. Like I'm excited for whatever is going to happen in this next phase of our reality. Like, but one thing I wanted to tackle with you that we never talked about yet, and it pertains to your course and everything, is the galactic astrology. Because remember, I told you, I said I had my galactic astrology done, and you were like, "Oh, I wrote a book on galactic astrology," and I was like, "No way!" And then we looked it up, and you were like, "Yeah, I have a book out on galactic astrology," and I was like, "That's so awesome!" Like, Can you talk about that a little bit and what kind of motivated you to write that book?
Yeah, so I wrote a book called How to Read Celestial Akashic Starseed Origins, and basically I provided a methodology of how to read your own birth chart to determine what your starseed origins are. Determining the starseed origins is, again, it's a level of development in the phases of starseed consciousness. Really, we are everything. There is no separation, right? If we're going by the law of one. And so we are everything in the universe, but ultimately we start with kind of our origins, because this is what allows us to crack open the cosmic Akash. And this is what allows us to integrate more of our cosmic identity, which is imperative to deeper levels and layers of knowing who you are, right? Knowing what your tribal lineage is, knowing what your ancestral inheritance is, knowing what defines your mission here. Because every starseed on this earth is looking for what their mission is, because that's the ascent of the starseed ability. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what the calling is. It's a calling that allows us to transcend our human limitations and get directly into service towards the greater evolution of humanity. And so what guided me to do this was all of that, right? Because I'm seeing this bigger picture. I'm seeing this knowing, and I'm seeing what the future looks like. And I consider myself to be a vision holder of New Earth. So I hold the ability to see what has to happen in terms of the development to get to New Earth. I know what the gateways are, the keys are. I know what the development processes of the reality looks like inside of the earth. And so because of that, I can then implement the phases of what has to happen to get to that point. And so I hold the gateways open for other people. And that's what that book was about. That book was about, it's a process in that. And it's providing people the attunement tools to get to that next evolutionary phase in their development. And it's mixed with all kinds of chaos and our humanism and all the things we still have to deal with on a 3D level. There's no denying that.
That's fascinating. And then, but to understand our galactic astrology, we honestly have to understand our galactic history too. And you know a lot about that. Can you talk about that and like, just kind of give us an overview of what our galactic history was, or like, kind of like an idea, I mean, from your perspective?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for asking that question, because this is something I'm definitely going to teach about in the course. So I really encourage anyone watching today, if you are interested in this knowledge and you want to expand upon this in a much more deeper way, that to definitely come check out the course that we're doing, because I'm going to be teaching all about galactic history, essentially. And it's my own unique perspective of it, right? It's my own channeling. It's my own research. It's the things that I've been shown over the last 5 years in terms of our history. But really what I'm seeing is this goes back to the Laniakea structures. And if you don't know about what Laniakea is, it's essentially I call it the immeasurable angel of the cosmic womb. This is kind of the holding point of our multiverse, or the cosmic multiverse. And within that, there is extensions of trillions of galaxies merged together. So Laniakea is beyond Andromeda. Laniakea is beyond the supercolossal cluster of the Virgo supercolossal cluster, which is what the Milky Way is inside of. Laniakea is the external structure that basically holds everything together beyond anything else that we can even see. So it's kind of like the mother heart of the cosmos. And it was discovered in Hawaii, essentially, is where they took like pictures of the structure. If you were to even just Google right now what Laniakea is, it would pull up this almost like a tentacle looking thing with like neurons. That's kind of what the heart of the galaxy ultimately is. So I like to say that we are actually galaxy seeds. We're not actually star seeds. The star seeds that we have in our Milky Way or around us are the ambassadors to Laniakea system. So what you see with Arcturus, someone thinks they're an Arcturian starseed. Okay, great, you're an Arcturian starseed. But you're actually originally from the super boots colossal system in the Laniakea system. Arcturus was just an ambassador to that nation. So there is a long descent over 200 trillion light years. So this is This is bigger than just starseed consciousness, but this is what I hope to ultimately teach in the course, is how extensive this dynamic system ultimately is.
Well, I hear a lot of people talk about the Lyran Wars and stuff like that. Like,
yes,
does this go back to that, or does our history even go even further back? Like,
it goes farther back than that. Yes. So what I'm talking about goes farther back than the Lyran Wars, but you're absolutely right. The Lyran Wars mark a pinnacle point in terms of our historical timeline trigger events. Human history is defined by timeline trigger events and honestly an antagonistic event marker. Okay, so an unfolding of antagonistic events that have ultimately taken human beings and human consciousness, human civilization into a de-evolution, right? Like here on this earth, it's very much an enslavement in a prison system. What I've talked about on my channel recently is that we are expanding outside of that prison system and our consciousness, right? We're coming to see more, but ultimately that the entire multi-cosmos is an enslavement system according to the law of one. So we can only break out of that enslavement system ultimately simultaneously at the same time as one. Okay, so it doesn't matter where we go in terms of our reincarnation. It doesn't matter what happens in terms of the cosmos, because we are the law of one in terms of the multi-cosmos. And so again, just kind of keeping that in mind. But yeah, in terms of what created humankind here in the Milky Way, it didn't ultimately start with the Lyran Wars. It ultimately started, I would say, 10 to 13 billion years ago with the Andromedan events, because what created the Milky Way and what created Andromeda was through collision events that took place, essentially. And those collision events spiraled through celestial filaments. They connected our core structures from the Milky Way system to the Andromeda system. So you can think of it as a sister system or even as a mother system. But we have interconnecting spiral celestial filaments of energy, an electrical grid, a cosmic multiverse electrical grid that connects us to that system, which ultimately build the structures inside of our planetary body to what holds together the fourth dimensional planetary gate system of Giza, and also Sirius B to Andromeda. That's our most active incarnational gate route on the Earth that goes previous to the Lyran Wars. Okay, so that whole system.
Can you say that again? Because sometimes you're so advanced, like you blows past me. Like I want to understand it. So it's something from Giza that goes to Sirius B to, how did you say
Andromeda?
Andromeda. So those are our incarnation points.
This is the most active incarnational stargate route on the Earth. Yes, that goes back transcendent 150, I want to say, million years. This is prior even to the Lyran Wars. The Lyran Wars take a lot of the like this was it. This was the beginning of humankind. It wasn't the beginning of humankind. It was the beginning of the development of the Elohim. The Lyrans brought forth the 6 spheres of the Elohim inside of the earth body. Okay, so the Lyrans represent this, basically. There are many other systems and many other nations and many other angelic aspects of this that are involved in the development of humankind. The Seraphi or the Seraphim go back even further to that because they are connected to the dragon or the draconic systems, also the serpent systems, which were actually the original progenitor races that actually go back to the dinosaurs. So this is why I'm calling it back 150 million years. Yeah, because this is actually kind of the original point.
There's a researcher from Britain. His name's Pierre Sabak. He talks about like that there were 2 like angel races, which one was like the seraphim and one was the cherubim. And I don't know if this meshes with anything you have to say, like, but I'm just saying. And he said one was like a reptilian angel and one's like a human angel. Does that mesh with anything like with what you're saying, or is that different?
No, I mean, no, it definitely comes into play because what I have come to see is that there was a lot of we call them invader races, right? Like the Draco system. People don't understand that there was warfare going on in the Draco system even prior to the Lyran Wars. Okay, so we had the Omicron Dracos. So the Anunnaki Draco warfare was actually going on prior to the Lyran Wars. That's why and how the Lyran system could have been invaded. Because if you think about that timeline marker of the Lyran Wars, they're talking about the Orion Wars, they're talking about Orion invading Lyra. Well, how could there have been invasion if there was already nations set up in accordance to that development of building those networks, building those societies, building those galactic organizations that were able to infiltrate Lyra in the first place? That clearly tells us an indicator that this goes back even further. So yes, in terms of the development of the human species, this is genetic modification going back 150 million years, coming down from the Draco systems, the serpents, the seraphim lines, and ultimately creating reptilian humanoids, which came from Draco Omicrons. This was some of the original things that had happened. And so, yeah, it's a lot that's gone on, that's for sure. I don't have the exact definition. I just know that there are particular events that have taken place that have created the descendancy to what we are today. It's a lot of manipulation of the pre-human body, like the what are they called? Like the our pre-human ancestors. That was what was genetically modified. That was what was genetically manipulated, going back to even the Neanderthals.
Well,
Okay,
that's
so-
what I mean. Were we a spinoff of them, or we're like, and then I wanted to ask you who the Elohim and the
Yeah, I
Seraphim
mean,
are.
absolutely. If you took if I took a DNA sample right now and submitted off to something, they would find like 0.5 or 1% of my DNA would be Neanderthal.
Yeah, because they all mixed in. Like, do we even have Cro-Magnon in us too? Or because it seems like what was weird about Cro-Magnon is they kind of like just they kind of go off the scene. They're like what's the word? Like they disappeared. Like not like the Mayans did, but they might have went extinct or something like that. Like, you know, like I wonder why that happened. But then you see the human man start to flourish, like us, the Adamic man. And I wonder who planted and because I really feel like the Adamic man or the Adamic man, Adamic, however you want to say it, was planted here, you know, because like we don't do well with this earth. Like we're up against gravity. Like everything is like our bodies aren't meant for this earth. I don't feel like. So like, do you feel like we were put here, and do you think the earth was terraformed?
I was just rechecking the chat on what we're doing right now so I could see what's coming through. We've had many different evolutions of the earth that have been wiped out according to cataclysms and floods. I mean, the Dryers event, which took place 12,000 years ago, I mean, that was a real flood through meteorite impact that happened. I think it happened, the impact took place, there was multiple events of it actually, but I believe it was like Greenland or Iceland, which was where the meteorite impact struck, and then also down in the Yucatan as well, that took out the dinosaurs. There was like a whole event that took place, right? I think this has happened multiple times on this earth. So we really have to be able to fathom this spectrum that goes back billions and billions and billions of years, which is really, really mind-blowing. Like we have to really open up the crystal seals of our DNA to be able to see this. But yeah, the earth has been terraformed multiple times, and there are certain lineages, genetic lineages, that have mastered the mechanics of this earth. You know, the Dracos, the reptilians, the reptilian hominoids, these are actually the oldest and most ancient lineages here. These are the subterranean genetics that have flourished here. They are the progenitor races here. And people don't like to hear that. People don't want to hear that because it sets up this predisposition of darkness or evil because there's so much associated to that. But as starseeds, that's what we are here to do, is to hold a place of neutrality and ultimately be able to look at our genetic integration and descendancy here to embody what was predisposed in terms of nefarious or even degradational DNA or even junk DNA, and we activate that. And then we filter through what those distortions are, and we actually clear the genetic distortions. That's what starseeds do. So we're clearing the templating going back 150 million, trillion, 200 trillion years, because we're infinite beings, we're eternal beings. And our DNA within those 64 codons has the ability to hyper tune to those and then clear the distortions within that. And so there's no fear in any of this, just so you know. Just like anybody watching, if you fear this information, try to look at it from a place of neutrality, because the reptoids or the reptilian species were like the first worshipped species here on this earth as gods. It was the star seeds and the integration that came here through the Pleiadians, through the Sirians. These were actually the invaders, to believe it or not. And I know this is like really throwing a wrench into the whole story here, but the light beings that came in here came in to evolve the human soul spirit body of the DNA to actually create us into these angelic beings. Okay, the merging of the Pleiadian body that came in during the Lemurian timeline, it came in to ultimately anchor that original soul spirit body here and transform, but it merged into a serpent templating, original divine serpent templating, because Hydra was also one of the progenitor races that came here prior to Lyra. Believe it or not, the serpent races. We never talk about this. Why do you think all of that serpent knowledge is demonized in the Bible? Why do you think when we go back to, some of these major stargates down in South America, that all we see is serpent symbolism everywhere? That's all that there is.
It's the serpent knowledge is huge. And it went like from what we know of, it was like, I know Chris Hardy writes about it in Wars of the Anunnaki. She says that it was called like Enki's serpent symbol, like the divine knowledge. And supposedly Enki handed it down to his son Ningshita, who we could also say was Thoth. And Thoth fled Egypt because he was in a conflict with Marduk. And he went, this isn't just Sishin, this is like more like through the tablets. And then he goes to, South America and sets up shop there. And then you see this, it was like a cult of the serpent. It was like the brotherhood of the serpent.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Do you have the same info?
Yeah. Well, it's gone multiple different ways. We have
I would love to know.
Yeah. The true original serpent teachings go back to Mu. And we talked about this last time we had our show. I'm so engaged right now in this conversation, I have to tell you.
it's fascinating. It really is.
It's intense at the same time. Yeah.
It is. We're doing a really good, this turned out really well.
Yeah. Well, I told you we would be good because we can free flow this stuff, because I think you yourself, you've interviewed so many amazing people on your channel that it's got to have literally installed so much insight into you. So you can counter this conversation, which is amazing. And that's why I love talking to you. And that's why I love coming on your show.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. That really does mean a lot. I appreciate that. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's amazing to talk to people who have galactic mind awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more like, I know a lot about the Anunnaki, you know what I mean? Like I don't know as much about the galactic stuff as you. I'm more about like the Anunnaki. I know a little bit about galactic. I know a little bit about the Lyran wars and stuff like that, but like, I want to learn more. Like, like for example, what was interesting was like when those girls, they're really nice, like Dawn and Sumati did my, or Sumati, however she pronounced it. They did my galactic chart. They were saying I was from Spica. And I didn't understand that. Like, I don't understand what Spica is. Is that like a humanoid race?
Spica is not so much. They are a smaller soul collective here on the earth. They are a very angelic race. So they are more, I want to say 6th to 9th dimensional. They are a sister star to Arcturus. Arcturus is also a very angelic system as well. There's not as much in terms of like human incarnation here. They're very much shape shifters. But Spica is a very abundant star. I think it sits on the markers of Virgo. I believe it is in the, so if you have Spica, you would have some Virgo markers basically in your starseed chart. But Spica is a star that is known for a lot of abundance and also a lot of harvest. And wealth. It's known for wealth. It's known for popularity and fame. People who carry a lot of Spica usually rise to fame like very quickly. So it's all about your the placements of that also within your chart as well. Like, where does it sit in terms of your astrological planetary positions? How it kind of impacts your cosmic identity. But yeah, it's a very unique system, and that it's they are wanting to incarnate here more. They are working towards that. But I don't think it's as much as a big of a soul group as some of the other ones are that are here.
That's fascinating. Now, back to this Brotherhood of the Serpent, or the Serpent knowledge. You said this goes back to Atlantis and Mu. Now, we talked about this a little bit last time, but how far does the Serpent knowledge go back? And was it Enki, or who was it that started it?
I don't think it was Enki who started it. I think it was the wisdom keepers of Mu, which was the Nakal people. And the Nakal people had their original tablets, which were the, original people of Mu, the original motherlands, which goes back further than Lemuria. And this is where the actual civilization of humanity originally began to flourish. When that knowledge was lost and Mu sank, it went to Kudam Kamari in India, and which is where a lot of the knowledge from the Nakal people went. And so that's why we have so much serpent cults ideology in the southern tip of India. The Dravidian people, the Tamil people, these were the last and most recent true serpent wisdom culture that had resided. But ultimately, I think the serpent wisdom went into, again, because I think this goes back 150 million years to the Draconian Empire, that the serpent or the reptilian mind body came and descended down from the seraphim soul bodies, which were these greater spheres of emanations of angelic bodies that were around the earth, that they descended through these lines, that there was some sort of fracture that happened between the dragon lineages and the serpent lineages. That happened during the timelines of Mu and then infiltrated through the timelines of Lemuria. Okay, and so I don't think it was Enki. I personally believe, and not everybody is going to agree with this, but I believe that the scriptures of ancient Hindu text precede the scriptures of Enki and Enlil.
Oh yeah, the Vedas, they do.
The Vedas,
they do by like thousands of years, right? They're really. I have a couple of people that come on my show that talk about that, but I'm not real well versed in them. I mean, I know the characters like Krishna and Shiva and Buddha and but like I'm not real well versed, but they have a fascinating culture that even goes back to like Ancient Aliens, where they talk about the Vimanas that they used to fly and stuff like that. Like those are fascinating texts. I gotta get into that a little bit more. Like I'd like to read the Mahabharata. I believe it's called. I haven't read that yet.
Yeah, so this is like where that serpent descent ultimately came down and through. Like the original Anangu people, even in Uluru in Australia, it was the Pleiadian spirit body that merged with the serpent body that created that. Because the serpent body was representing more of the physicality. And so that they merged together. So the progenitors of the Pleiadians were even the Hydra systems. Okay, the serpent systems, which is a very large constellation that ultimately rides on the southern hemisphere, that spans 3 different constellation systems, goes through Cancer, goes through all the way to October to Libra, from Cancer to Libra. Okay, so this is like the mother progenitor race that was infused with other systems, the Syrian systems, the Pleiadian systems, and again, started this great descent that I think probably came in during the time of the Mayan invasions. And then what unfolded from there was the Sumerian and Babylon timelines, going into the Egyptian and Sumerian timelines. And so, yeah, there's so much history, right? There's like, if we could put this on a timeline, that's ultimately what I'm doing right now. As I prepare for this course, I'm trying to break down all of this stuff that I've known and have came in information of, and breaking down this systematic timeline so people can understand what the galactic history actually looks like, from this most accurate record that I could personally find. And it's really, really important as you become galactic yourself, as you become stepping into starseed consciousness, starseed awareness, is that you integrate cosmic Akashic history, because this can really help define the totality of our existence here, and also where we're going and what it means to be human in this day and time, right? Like what this means to hold this knowledge right now. Like there's so much that is happening here. And when you're able to access this, we're able to bring more of the new earth available to us and be able to build that reality. And so all of these things matter, though, because I mean, what happened in the Sumerian and Egyptian invasion, this was really the timeline that they learned how to modify and manipulate the magnetic field of the planet. This is when amnesia actually became an issue for human beings, because they had technology, and that's when beast machine technology was implanted, essentially.
What do you mean beast machine? What's that, like the soul recycling trap, or what?
Oh, definitely that. But there's also mechanics that go behind it, which are technologies inside of the earth that they've placed. One is rod and pole manipulation and tampering. So they've actually tampered the rod. They've tampered the main staff. Obviously, their weather modification and tampering with the sun. There's also things called planetary branding, which is where they can actually go to heightened energy centers on the earth, and they actually install iron rods of particular geometric symbols to control that landmass emanation or energy field around that. There's also particle accelerators. So CERN, people think CERN is like some big amazing thing, but this is actually a technology that came from the Sumerian Egyptian timeline as well. Particle accelerators have been on Earth forever, and for a long time, going back like 10,000 years ago. That's what they do to weaken the magnetic field. And that's what creates amnesia in the human species, is to weaken the magnetic field. That's what wipes the memory field completely. And if you were to even Google and look up and research particle accelerators, there's over like 200 to 500 of these all over the earth. CERN is not the only one.
Well, would you say that CERN is definitely manipulating timelines? Is that what they're doing?
Yes.
Do they even know they're doing it?
Well, that's the thing, is the humans that are, dedicated to the implementation of this, they don't understand what they're working for. They don't understand the higher forces of intelligences that are directing that knowledge. So no, they don't know what it is. They're just doing what's told, what's coming down from the command center of hierarchy of cosmic global infiltration of what these other systems want to do here on this earth, which is to dominate the timelines and to manipulate and control. The ones that are on top of this, like the elite, the Illuminati, the cabal, like all of this, they are the ones that have the keys to immortality. They have the keys to this knowledge. A lot of this stuff was taken from the burning of the Library of Alexandria. I mean, there's reasons why certain things happen throughout history, so that way, all of this information could be stolen and basically wiped out from underneath humanity, so that way they don't know what's happening ultimately with their species here. But yeah, this is it's a big deal, isn't it?
Well, no, it is, because I think we have to know where we came from and what's really going on with our reality to properly, if we're talking about ascension, and if we're actually going to ascend or go to a fifth density, or even expand our consciousness or expand our awareness. Like, say somebody doesn't believe totally in the whole fifth dimension thing, which is okay. I'm skeptical, but you can at least believe in expanding your awareness. And this is the best time in the world to expand your awareness, right? But if you're going to expand your awareness, you have to know where you came from and your real history and the real reality of what's going on here. All right. I mean,
yes. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to be in the fifth dimension to ultimately understand the descendancy of our galactic history and all of the historical timeline trigger events that have taken place to create that where we are today. Yeah. And it's extensive what's happened. I mean, it's very extensive. I mean, we talk about the invasions that happened in Saqqara, the wormhole and the black hole systems here. All of this stuff is still very active. There's a lot of false information, a lot of false light, a lot of things that propagate through. I personally feel the Galactic Federation. I've never been someone who's been like, oh, Galactic Federation, because I think it's a controlled opposition and narrative. So I don't subscribe to the information that comes through that stuff. Anything that's promoting technologies of AI is promoting the warfare that's come against the organic human templating here on this earth. You know, I'm talking about the med beds and all the stuff that they talk about and believe in. And it's really, to me, it's the Tothian invasion. So a lot of the Galactic Federation are Tothian bodies. That's what they're connected to, is they're working with Toth through his little Merkaba that flies throughout space. And they're working with fallen ascended master knowledge, essentially. And this is still coming through the frequency of greed and infiltration and invader technology to implement and to push forward the agenda of AI. And so, yeah, I don't really subscribe to that stuff. I've been vocal with you about that before.
Yeah, I don't really know much about it. I don't get involved really. I just like, but is there anything else you wanted to cover before we finish up for today?
Just that if anyone is interested in learning about this, we're putting together the course container event, which I'm so excited to bring forward. It's going to be a 4-day, 20-hour course with 2 of the most beautiful souls. And we're going to be teaching everything from galactic history to ascension mechanics to light language to having 3 galactivations. So really expanding people's field. So if you are looking for the next galactivation attunement, that's what we'll be doing. We will be focusing solely on expanding the field. So, you definitely want to be grounded coming into this, because this is going to be a high elevated container event that will expand you into the galactic realms. There's like no doubt about this. So I look forward to hosting this and bringing all of this information forward. And I look forward to everybody who's going to attend. And I just can't wait to do this, because we're really right now, because of everything that happened with the UAPs, right? Everything recently that happened, current events, those were guardian interventions. Okay. That was an awakening event that happened. So many, many new starseeds are coming online. Many new people are coming into this community for the very first time. There was an accelerative thrust and wave that took place and occurred. And so we are really trying to help those souls that are going through that, so that way they can, integrate all of this information and truly see the totality of their cosmic existence here. But yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time that you gave me to come on and talk on your channel today.
This was great. I got to go talk to Lightstar right now next, but this was